switched. Now you're on that side. Oh, our secret tech person is so
Very
good.
yours. You spin me right now. I can't sing actual song lyrics because
Don't do that.
don't do that.
How are you?
Are we at 20K yet? Because it looked like we were getting there.
We're almost.
Okay, so close.
Let's talk about that.
Taste it.
Yeah. So, y'all, whoever's here, welcome. I'm Fen. I'm a paranormal investigator and host of Follow the Woo podcast. I am also working with Michelle Belanger to create 2 paranormal TV shows. One is an episodic show and one is a long-form docu-series. So they're both documentaries, but 2 totally different styles. Just in case you don't know who I am.
I am Michelle Belanger, and you might recognize me better with a blindfold if you watch a lot of paranormal TV, because I am that psychic that does that weird stuff on Paranormal State and Portals to Hell and Conjuring Kesha. But if you followed me before any of the paranormal TV stuff, you also recognize me from every single vampire documentary that was made from 1996 onward. As the expert on the vampire community. And if I wasn't on the camera, I was behind it giving them tips.
Yeah. Weren't you a, I don't even remember what they're called right now because my brain is mush because Kickstarter, but a consultant for True Blood. Is that true?
For True Blood, they reached out and also had me for, they did these 2 documentaries that like kind of paved the way. The one thing that confused me is they did not include them on the DVD set, but they had like True Bloodlines, and basically one was on the vampire community because they liberally borrowed from the vampire community. Some of the styles are callbacks to people who worked with them. So when you first see Pam and she's got like that little blonde block in her red hair and her outfit,
yes.
If you find old images of me in the vampire community from like the 90s, you know exactly where that outfit and that look came from. And I saw it, I was like, okay, I guess okay. Better. I am definitely not a soccer mom though.
Yeah, no.
But
I love Pam.
Me, Catherine Ramsland, a bunch of other people got tapped for that to like help them understand like what. So one of the things that they were trying to do with that was, you know, they recognize in the same way that like the witchcraft community, there is really people who practice this. So when you're doing a TV show that depicts witches, you either want to be very clear that these are not like actual Wiccans, or you want to acknowledge that, you know, anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk
about it's interesting.
Thing.
Yes. Well, let's start with, okay, so first of all, whoever's jumping on right now, this is going to be a Q&A. So we're going to have a mix of questions that we've been sort of like kicking around among the team, and then questions from you. So feel free to ask questions at any time. And then also we have to talk about what's going on with the Kickstarter. So I'll just say Kickstarters are insane and we're so tired, and we're working round the clock doing so many things, press releases and like social media stuff and planning and all this stuff. And the goal really is, based on what Kickstarter has told us and taught us, is that we do need to make 30% of our final campaign goal amount within 48 hours. So it has not been 48 hours yet. It'll be 48 hours at 8:08 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow, which is Thursday. I have no idea what day it is. The
8th?
4th?
Maybe.
Yeah, the 8th. I think you're right. So
June,
we're so close. We're so close. We need like $700. So if you can take us over, really, Kickstarter makes it super clear that if you don't make it within that first 48 hours to that percentage point, you know, it's really hard to stay within like the algorithms and get pushed out to larger communities. So help us if you can.
Lives are run by algorithms now.
Algorithms. And so we said this yesterday in the live. That was yesterday, right? Hey, current is 19,242. So I'm horrible at math, but however more we need to get to 2,000.
800 would take us over 20.
Yeah, 800
My
bucks.
wife media was like, you will need $757.80.
The savant. We said this last night though, that, and you might have missed it though, you might not have been there, but if you don't have the means to donate, no worries. Oftentimes
Like,
hoarding.
retweet, share, talk about it, just buzz, whatever.
Tell everyone you know.
Yeah, really, just that is good currency as well. Don't think that just because you can't do this, you're useless. You are absolutely of use. You are wonderful. We love you. Just anything.
My heart's weird. I do not have a question, but rather a statement. Thank you. Thank you for showing women can be represented in this paranormal. Yeah. Thank you, Candace.
Well, and the funny thing is I know that at this point on TV, it is dominated by white guys in tight black t-shirts. And
we're both wearing tight black t-shirts.
And a lot of people will be like, well, the original Ghost Hunter was actually Hans Holzer. But look up a book called The Night Side of Nature and look at the person who wrote that and who was who was probably the first person on ghost investigation, because that was not a boy.
I don't know.
There's some hidden history about this. Like a lot of things, like it's sort of like been appropriated and like, you know, the guys are like, I can do this too, and suddenly we're like, oh, it's always been boys. No,
it hasn't.
No, and also that is like it shouldn't be like, it should be about like, yeah. Anyway, are there bats when the Kickstarter? Okay.
So tell.
All right. So as a gift,
this is gonna be great.
A bat onesie. It's
Wait,
a little
say that again.
Wait, it's got ears and everything, and I will put that on and do a live stream with my bat onesie if we reach it. I have no shame about this. Heck, I'll dance around with a cat on my head if I have to. Although that's any day. Like, it really depends on the cat.
I want to see you in a bat onesie, definitely dancing for sure. Yeah.
Singing the song of my people.
Oh my God. Yes. And that is if we make it to the 30% goal by within 48 hours, which is by
before 8 a.m. tomorrow. So we need $800 before 8 a.m. tomorrow, and then you'll get to see me in a bat onesie, and we've got other shenanigans planned.
Somewhere you said
Oh wow.
Oh wow, yeah. Go ahead, you go.
Well, first, I think the hardest part is going to be with all the content that we already have, like boiling it down into just one season right now. Like that was the thing. Like, I think initially we had talked about just doing like a little mini documentary, and there's a lot. I do not think that we are going to be hurting for content. The trick will just be making sure that we have enough funding to keep the wheels going on, like the practical aspect of it. Can we sit and have experiences and chronicle those experiences and like delve deeper and sort of like follow where that rabbit hole leads? That's a very deep rabbit hole. There's so much.
Yeah, I mean, as a neurodivergent person, I'm always looking for things that hold my interest, and the woo, as I call it, seems to be inexhaustible. It never disappoints. So this and with this project, there's just so much, because we really are open to all areas of woo, and they seem to be cropping up organically too, which is unusual.
With New Blood, that particular adventure, like, we really only scratched the surface. Like, all we really did was like, people are having initiatory experiences. What does this mean? And then it was like a lot of doors being like, oh, those are a whole lot of doors. What do we do? Also, why is it weirdly bouncing back and forth between these other investigations, and what is up with that?
Yeah. What makes you passionate about working? God. Well, what I just said, for sure. That it there is more that we don't know about the universe than we do know. So for me, that's a worthy thing to continually investigate. And I get really nerdy and passionate about talking about things like that, like time and galaxies and inhuman beings and all that stuff that we just don't understand. That I'm a total nerd for.
Well, for me, I've been doing this for a couple of decades now, and my biggest annoyance at paranormal shows particularly is the number of times the coolest, the most mind-blowing stuff ends up on the cutting room floor.
I know.
Largely because people higher ups make the decision that we don't think our audience will understand that, or it raises bigger questions than they are willing or able to answer in 22 or 30 minutes of television. And they just, rather than be like, we don't know what just happened here, they just like, and it didn't happen.
Hmm.
What makes me passionate about this, particularly because it's in our hands and we get to make the decisions, is we can just go dive right in. We don't have to cut out those difficult conversations. Rather, we can make the focus be the journey and how you wrestle with those moments that don't always have easy answers.
Yeah.
I kind of glory in the fact that there aren't easy answers. I mean, how cool is that? It's not as simple as I snapped a picture of a ghost.
Yeah.
It might not even be a ghost. Like, what is that even? So yeah, that the wonder, the possibility, and being really showing what it's like, rather than curating this sort of experience of what's expected.
Yeah. And, one thing that I heard from a trailblazing filmmaker who was kind of like trying to do their own thing years ago was that if you are watching content on your screen and you don't see yourself and you don't see like the stories that you want to be told, you have to make it. And that I'm very passionate about. Oh.
What is one of the weirdest things that happened on set? God, what wasn't weird?
Jesus, that's so hard. Um, Yikes. Well, I mean, there's so many. I like two that come to mind, but I don't know. I want to hear what you think first.
No, you go first, because
Okay.
I'm first of all, my yardstick for weird is broken,
It's day. Yes, that's
very
true.
broken.
I think there's too many, but the first one that came to mind is that Michelle did a hypnotic past life regression on camera with the amazing hypnotist and friend and sorcerer Lonnie Scott. And I can't give you details about what happened, but that was one of the weirdest things that I've ever witnessed, just in my whole life, let alone on set.
Yeah, that was a whole thing. I
That was the whole thing.
Yep, that was a thing. I'm yeah, that not gonna lie. Of everything that we're gonna share with this, that's the one that I'm like, well, people are either going to be really into this or they are gonna think that I am knucking futz.
Probably both.
Both, probably
Yeah,
both.
yeah.
I yeah. Oh.
I mean, there was oh, you
So
got one?
the trailer is the first place that I have gotten to see the other side of that Estes method session. And
Mm,
that was my very first actually doing the Estes method. Generally, I don't like the spirit box sort of thing. Like when you're just having it shout in a room, like my particular like sensory issues, it drives me right up the wall. I can't concentrate. But hearing like in real time the way those things lined up and knowing like organically, I didn't hear any of those questions, and yet it's just answering stuff. Like
mhm.
I've watched other people do the Estes method. Obviously, I've seen the Newkirks do their stuff. Like Dana is fantastic,
Yeah, yeah.
and Colin, like the folks that developed it, uh, and I had already formulated the belief that it is a form of scrying, simply using modern technology rather than a black mirror or a bowl with water and oil. And that, for me, really confirmed that. Like it feels like scrying with tech, and I kind of love that.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, a bunch of things have happened that like stuff is coming to my mind when the REM pod went bananas and like wouldn't stop, and then it would stop and then go bananas again, and we checked the batteries, and it was at this like really intense moment. And then there was like just the synchronicities like of, oh, like one group would be out here and then the other group would be out here. And then there was that crazy randonauting adventure that we went on, but don't say anything.
Yeah. How about so the next, have there been any moments during filming that you were genuinely scared?
Hmm.
Or that I do want to say, like, remember when I was like, hey, I have this friend in New Orleans. I actually didn't tell you. I was like, hey, Kat, could you like get a read on these people from
Yeah.
New Orleans? We're in Ohio, you're in New Orleans, use your psychic abilities to like look at people while we're doing this stuff. And
Yeah.
enough things lined up where I was like, and I didn't plan on bringing my artist friend into this adventure, but here is Kat, who is currently our moderator right now. So give Kat, aka Abri, a shout out. Kat is amazing and has added to this as well. So, have there been any moments during the filming where you were genuinely scared?
I scared. Okay, so when as a paranormal investigator, I have desensitized myself a lot. So it's like and I'm sure for Michelle, it's even like that yardstick is also broken. So I do get scared, but I think the scariest part for me was what happened when too much energy work too quickly happened and I did not take care of myself. And so that like mental mind fuck that happened, that's what scared me the most, honestly, more than any of the spirits or any of the like traditional, I guess I'll say, things that people seem to be scared of.
Yeah, so my sense of what scares me is really broken. I died at 6 months and I came back. I died at 4.5 and I came back. After that hasn't been very scary because like the worst has already happened. Like, but the scariest part about this has been, this is going to seem weird. I'm on TV on the regular doing psychic stuff. I'm, advocating for the vampire community. I'm like this activist, this talking head for decades. But there's always been parts of my belief and practice that I've held back from the camera. And the scariest thing for me was being vulnerable and actually taking the risk of saying, okay, here's this entirely subjective, very out there stuff that is part of my personal practice and 100% part of my belief. Like this is part of my daily stuff, but I don't talk about it because it's so personal. And the terrifying thing was actually doing that on camera, like just being like, well, we're going there, I guess we're
Yeah.
going there.
Yeah, I agree with that too.
That was a lot. I'm still really adjusting to like, oh, I did that happened, we had that conversation, it's recorded.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about being a trailblazer in this way is that we've never seen anything like this before. So it's scary because it's unprecedented. There's no framework, there's no like built in like guarantee that it's going to be received well or whatever, and you kind of have to throw that shit away. But still, it's a very vulnerable experience for everyone, but especially you.
Have you thought about having a contest so one of us fans can just be behind the scenes of a filming just to watch? I mean, I'm not against the idea.
I like that idea, Lori.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, we'll put that in our little what is it called? Figma.
Put that in our little quilt bag and carry it around.
Yeah, thank you, Lori. That's a great idea.
Yeah. I mean, that would actually have to come with some caveats. So like one of the challenges was getting folks on the crew who weren't necessarily part of the initial idea, and letting them know that like you are going to be exposed to energy work and experiences that will change you, and trying to not sound like bombastic or like trying not to sound like, ooh, spooky, you're going to be changed, but like really giving people enough information so that they can make an informed decision of like, this is an initiatory experience. To simply observe will change the way you feel, can make you like you will be exposed to energy. And it's a real thing. Like I remember people were like, like after a couple of days at Inspiration House, where people were just like, no, really, honey, you need to go take a walk. Like just
Yeah.
not be in this house, not be around everyone. Entanglement happens, overwhelm happens. It's going to be a lot.
Woohoo! We just got some pledges. Lonnie's keeping us updated.
Yeah,
Thank you, Lonnie.
you're like holding up the calculator. It's okay. It's okay.
We're almost there, y'all.
I feel like I'm doing a telethon, but also it's for such a good cause.
Yeah. Just curious if the powers that be in the traditional Woo TV have reached out to you now since the Kickstarter started yesterday and they see it's doing so well. Has there been any interesting new buzz out there? But okay, so yes. Okay, yes and no. So
yes and no.
Yeah, on one hand, I won't say who it is because I think it's like jumping the gun and it's not right to say it, but a well-known executive producer has reached out to us.
Oh.
Yeah, indirectly. So to actually my mom, because my mom's been helping with this campaign. So there's one there. And then there's also been some people who are indirectly involved with projects who have come forward and say like, how can we help move this forward for you? But I don't know. I mean, I haven't had like the major powers that be come forward and say, yes, I will make this happen for you.
You know, the weird thing is
I wish
concluded at this point that like I genuinely scare some of the people in charge of things, because they're always real weird about contacting me, or they'll like contact through a friend of a friend.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when that started. There was it was one of the Paranormal State episodes, because I think actually I know for a fact at this point that the director and the producers were just sure someone was feeding me information. And there was something that I pulled, stuff that they didn't have. No one had. They found it because of the reading that I did. And nobody told me. It was just the next time I called in for a completely unrelated case, everybody on the crew was acting really, really twitchy around me, like really weird. And Katrina finally was just like, didn't anyone tell you? And I was like, I don't know what's going on. Nobody tells me anything. Like literally, you call me up at 12:30 at night and you're like, hey, would you like to like do a psychic walkthrough tomorrow in the backwoods of Tennessee? Your plane leaves at 5. Thanks.
See you soon.
Like that was how it would work. Like last minute, that was just my life.
Yeah.
And also, so I legitimately scared people. And so I have a weird relationship with folks, especially like on different levels. Like I don't know. Oh, funny thing that. So are we going to be investigating Inspiration House? For folks who don't know, Inspiration House is the name of my 150-year plus property in Oberlin. It's this brick house that is definitely haunted. That I
can confirm.
Definitely. Well, I bought it partly as a training ground for, I teach a lot of psychics and mediums and stuff. So I needed a haunted house people could sleep over at and learn how to think. Anyway, when Fen pitched this whole thing to me of like, I'm going through this initiatory experience, I need answers. Can I also chronicle it? I'm a filmmaker. I was like, how about we meet at Inspiration House and you guys can stay there and we'll just sort of see what happens. So sort of by default, there ends up being an investigation at Inspiration House and a lot of experiences there because people are going through some extraordinary stuff.
Yeah. Inspiration House almost becomes like HQ. Like it's
Yeah.
where I feel that many times in seasons to come, if, you know, we can make that happen, we will end up back at HQ at Inspiration House.
What specific elements of your docuseries set them apart from other paranormal programs? Well, the first thing I want to say is, in addition to Inspiration House, this crew got to investigate at my home where I live, which also happens to be the central hub of a mystical society called House Keperu. And so there's a bunch of stuff that has access to our ritual chamber, where we have practiced ritual for as long as we have owned this house. 2004, 2005? Yeah, so almost 20 years, dedicated ritual space that is not really out there for people to see. So that is an unprecedented level of access to the location of legitimately a mystery tradition. You don't get to see that every day. What else?
Oh, shoot. What was the question again?
What makes us stand out? Like, what's different?
Ah, yes. I mean, well, there's also the queer component. The entire cast and crew is queer, and we talked about this last night, that the queer and liminality, you know, and how, and the intersection of the two um, are sort of intrinsic to this investigation and to both of these shows. And I've never seen anything like that before. I've always wanted to see an all queer, or just like all female would be great too. But we got lucky, and everybody is queer on the cast and crew.
I know that we're not going to be by any stretch the first like all queer team, but I think one of the things
That's true.
no, there are a couple.
Where?
They didn't get a whole lot of stuff. There was one in Canada. There was one here in the States. I am still in contact with them. You can still find some of their stuff on YouTube. And so it's not just us. We're not the first for that.
So sorry, I have to call them.
And Ken Summers would be best positioned to like point out all the different like queer connections.
Yeah.
A book coming out.
Sorry for those out there who I did not know that.
but it's important to understand, like, when we who would be a target audience for that don't know that, like, that's a problem. Like, you don't get to see that. Nobody promotes it. You only see one kind of cookie cutter, and then everything else just gets like lost in the background, and that's a problem. And we'd like to change that. I would say one of the other things that makes us stand out in terms of, like, we have this diverse, inclusive cast that is not simply applying a Christianized Western European take on the metaphysical to everything. Like, we don't try to solve everything with holy water. We're not shouting at demons every 5 minutes. You will see a lot of very personal practices, very unique, like different people's family cultural practices, different flavors of witchcraft and occultism, homebrew practice, stuff that is more like non-theistic, like agnostic. It's not what you usually get to see on a ghost show, where if you clear something in a house, you're just coming at it with some appropriated sage. Appropriated sage.
Shade.
Yeah, well, I'm throwing shades, so really that was by the way, my Freudian slip is leather.
Yes, shoot, my brain just got smushed again. Before I answer this, I was going to say something to what you just said.
Okay.
I forgot. We'll have to come back to it.
All right. Are you doing readings for donation for the Kickstarter? I think aren't some of the stretch goals, are there readings on some of the stretch goals? Like a second. I bet you, am I
think it's for you. Yeah.
I don't know. Did somebody sign me up for doing that? I don't remember.
We did not.
Well, and also, like, folks know that tends to be here's what I will say. I know that you are adding some stretch goals and some things to it. I am okay with a limited number of, I will maybe do like a contemplation card reading or something, like if we want a small number of that, because folks who know I do not do readings for hire. You can't pay me to do a reading for you. I might, as a friend, be doing something, but it's just, I would much rather, in all cases, teach someone how to read for themselves, for so many reasons. And some of it's just hard. Actually, one of the main reasons is every person who is psychic has certain things that they will tune into more than others. And because of my background and the things that I have personally lived through, usually the stuff that comes forward first and loudest for me is rarely stuff people want to share or hear about.
Yeah.
It tends to be like the harder stuff, the darker stuff, or the traumatic stuff. And I just don't always like taking people there.
Hi, Oscar. Yes, we are talking about two new paranormal TV shows. One is an episodic show where we go into locations and investigate, and then also we don't just communicate or attempt communication with ghosts. We also attempt to contact aliens, fae, cryptids, really, however you categorize them, we're interested in chatting with them. And then the other is a long form docu-series. They're both docu-series that is just a wild synchronicity based ride. Do you want to say more on that, Michelle?
I would say that it started off as you chronicling your awakening as a particular psychic identity that we term vampire. It's way more complicated than that. And then trying to understand, what does that actually mean? And in opening that Pandora's box, you and everyone connected to you having some pretty extraordinary experiences, and me sort of being your ferryman. and sort of like helping guide,
Yeah,
helping to keep some rails on that, like,
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
people don't just fall off into Lethe and drown.
The thing about that show is the long form show is that it is still going.
Yeah.
So it never stops. So we all have cameras and our phones on us, and we're documenting synchronicities that continually happen. And you almost have to like put a lid on it so that you can do like everyday things, so that you can focus. So because it just will pop right back up, and it can kind of make you feel like you're going a little crazy when you're in the thick of it. So it's definitely like a ride that we are currently on and being pulled by.
How has your teamwork as a cast and crew influenced the direction and development of these projects?
Hmm.
I'd say because we've got like such an odd patchwork of people and
Yeah.
personalities and brains that work differently, it means, I would say, first and foremost, the thing that it really changes is we go in directions that would be unexpected and usually untrod by other things. We don't think like other people. Most of us are some flavor of neurodivergent. We're all certainly weird.
Neurospicy.
Spicy, yes, I like that. And so like we think about things from a direction that is unusual. And when you have that many people who look at reality from different directions, all in the same room and working on the same project, you end up with some pretty unique takes, some really unusual paths that are taken to get to where we're going. Which is another one of the things that makes this particularly unusual. Like, we don't pretend that we're not people who are driven also by our ADHD or our autism or our various and sundry things. Like, we are people where like that's a part of who we are. It's also part of how we experience reality. It's part of how we explore this. And as cool and as messy and as unique as that gets, like you also get to see that. So it's not just because it's a queer cast. Like, we're just all the weird.
All the weird, yes. Where can we see this and what is it called? So you'll be able to see both of these shows at the, on YouTube for free at the end of 2023, probably like late fall or winter of 2023. So you can feel free to subscribe to our channel now if you want. And that information is somewhere. I don't know, but you can go to newblood.tv and all that'll be in there for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
At least YouTube. One of the sort of sneaky reasons for the Kickstarter is the current world is all about numbers and algorithms. Like, love it or hate it, that's just how it works. A Kickstarter, if it's really successful, gives us specific numbers that we can point to and say, people want to watch this, which then means that streaming platforms and channels and things other than YouTube might stand up and be like, oh, hey, maybe we will give this a limited run on Amazon Prime or on Netflix or wherever. So it's not merely about raising money. It is also about raising interest and showing that there really are people who want to see this show.
Absolutely.
We can totally do it just on YouTube. We're going to do that anyway. But the more people who back this, the more likely it is that you will get to see this on more than simply YouTube.
Absolutely. And you do get to, when you get to prove, once you prove that you've got something that they think is worth money, then they tend to come calling. And it is important to be noted that in our Kickstarter, we talk about how the money is being used for the rest of production, filming, and then post-production for the 2 seasons, for the 2 shows. But then we also talk about marketing and distribution. And we have access to some of the most incredible distribution, marketing and distribution, film specific, documentary specific experts in LA who are willing to help us out with this. And they know exactly where we need to go, where we could go after YouTube and so on. So
Lonnie has a fantastic question, and I really want to dive into this one. So from Lonnie, question sparked. Are psychic vampires more likely to be witches of some kind? Yes. So this is a complicated answer. The reason we have a vampire community at all is in the 80s and 90s, you had a bunch of us going, this is my experience. I think it's magical. I think it's a cult. Like there's also a psychic element. What is going on with this? And it was at that time where most of like the front facing aspect of witchcraft was very Wiccan, white light, very binary, like whole god, like there was that whole goddess movement go on. And I know this was my experience. That was not only my experience. We would like try to get in and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. I think I'm practicing magic. Like I want a community, and we would get kicked out. We were just told, you don't belong here. You're too dark. We just didn't fit. And that's actually why vampire rather than witch, rather than anything else, is the word that we ended up clustering under. We had to make our own community. And it absolutely is a magical community. Like it is inextricable from magical practice, spiritual practice, psychic awareness. Like it's this big, complicated thing. But because of how it presents for us and the sort of, I don't know, like I know that you'll get it, Lonnie. I don't know if everybody, the magical stream that like we tie into, like the archetypal powers that speak to us and move through us, that fuel us and inspire us, because there was a dark element. And it's funny now because witchcraft is totally not like this, but back then it was trying so hard to fight against the satanic panic that it stripped away all the dark. It rejected it completely. It was so white light, it was blinding, and we had no place. So we made our own. And that's how we have our community. If this was starting now, I'm not sure that there would be that much of a difference. I mean, you've got folks who are like just openly into demonology at this point. You've got more like traditional path witches. The people kind of laugh at the junior woodchuck fluff witches point. But when we were starting out, we didn't have a space. We had to carve it out.
Yeah, that was a great question.
Yeah.
Will we be seeing guest appearances? Yes, you will. And we're not telling you who, but maybe either one of those. I don't know. But yes, there will be guest appearances for sure on the episodic show in Human Beings. We generally have at least one guest for each episode. And I mean, sometimes I think we have like 2 or 3. So yes. And for the other show, we've already got people lined up for season 2, and we can't tell you anything.
Well, because I mean, with that one, I'm all about experimenting even on myself. Like I know I committed this to text just a couple of days ago of like, if I didn't live in this brain and I was a scientist, I would vivisect it. Like I would run all of try to figure out how all of this worked. Does my Keefe make an appearance? As I am sitting here in my apothecary, making stuff in jars behind me. Yes, actually, when we were doing stuff, particularly for the New Blood show, I used it for some of the past life work. We do a couple of rituals on camera. And so Keefe, or Kapet, is an incense that was used in ancient Egyptian temples that I got a wild hair up my ass in 2018 to recreate from a recipe that was scribed on the walls of the laboratory room in the Temple of Edfu complex. It's also older. It's a couple thousand years old. It had been in use for a very, very long time. It is not incense like you're used to. It's not a cone. It's not an incense stick. It's actually made with dried fruit and wine and honey, and then it's like aged, and it's like this whole. It is a whole process.
Long.
It's a long process to make this stuff. Like, you add, if you do it traditionally, you are adding a single item, a new ingredient, like every day to it. The prayers didn't get written down, but it used to be done with like this full ceremony. You're like reconstructing the body of Osiris in making this incense. So it's sort of like communing with the god, building the god. And the incense was used to open the gates between, spirits and dreams and whatnot. It was burned at different points daily at the temple to facilitate communication with spirits and the gods. And it's a whole experience. I made it specifically because somebody had asked the question, if scent plays a big role in memory and we're doing past life work, what if we could recreate a scent from long enough ago? What memories would that trigger? I was like,
let's try it. What do we got here?
Would love to see a show with a little bit of everything. Aliens, cryptids, different belief systems, spirits. Do you have anything in mind as to what types of subjects, places, events you'd be focused on? I would say first, we definitely, like, nothing's off the table. Like, that's the biggest thing. Nothing's off the table.
Yeah. I would say that, do you have anything? Yeah, I mean, really, aliens, cryptids, it's like just what you said, there's nothing off the table. As far as like specific places and events, I will say this is a little bit of a teaser, but we do, I won't say exactly what cryptid, but we do end up going to, I don't want to give it away. So we do end up going to a place about the frogmen. I'll say that.
Here's what I'll say instead for that is the way traditional shows are put together, they have to put things in neat little boxes. So if it's a show, everything you're looking at has to be a ghost by the end, even if that means they have to edit things out and put them on the cutting room floor and just be like, nope, that didn't happen. And I can say that because I've been there when that's been the case, where something just completely, like, this is definitely not a ghost, and they're just like, nope,
doesn't fit.
Yeah. So first, we're not trying to make anything fit into a box. We are willing to explore any and all of it, especially because our collective experiences have taught us it's not as simple as ghosts or cryptids, or like, there are things that are going on in the world, and there are things that humans can do, and there are things that not so humans can do. And just because it presents as a ghost doesn't always mean that it is a dead human walking around. And exploring the edges of that, our taxonomy of belief, is a driving force of both of these shows.
Yeah, well said. I think you said it. That's the whole enchilada.
That's why you pay me the big bucks.
That's why. What are your dream places to investigate that are not currently featured in the shows? I want to do an international. I mean, I want to go some everywhere, but I'd love to go to Boleskine House.
So actually, all right, my absolute, like, shoot for the moon thing, I know enough about a couple of past lives that there's a few places that I know that I've been, different me's have been. And a couple of them are accessible locations, like places that we could physically go to.
Oh, we gonna go there.
And I'd be very curious, at the very least. Well, one, it would be really, I don't know how you would not let me know that we were going to one of these, but it would be fantastic to do something like that. Or if people went there without letting me know and had me remote view in.
Yeah, maybe
To
we
see
could do that.
so that I could give you a list of some of those places. Some of them, many of them are international.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Any plans to get the Psychic Vampire Codex back in print with Wiser? So actually, it took me years to get my rights back from Wiser because I really didn't like the contract that I was under. And so my plans are to do the print and all of it myself. There's so many reasons, but not the least of which being like that was, now that I know a little bit more about contracts, that wasn't a very nice contract. And so we got the rights back. We are re-releasing a version that is mildly updated. It's not like a re-release, but it's got like, you know, some language and stuff. And since there's going to be, what is the 30th anniversary in 2024?
Wow.
Because I wrote it in 94, published a 10th anniversary edition with Wiser in 2004. That's not 40. It's 30 years. Okay. I can't count.
Same.
Depending on if I have the time and the brain. Like I have every intention of doing an anniversary edition with some expansion and stuff. But also we're doing 2 TV shows. I am doing audiobooks. I've got like 3 decks of contemplation cards and a billion other things. So we'll see if I have enough brain to do it. I want to. But regardless, there will be a version that is also in print shortly.
Do I need a college education to be a paranormal investigator? No.
No, it doesn't. And also the only person in the paranormal who actually has a degree in parapsychology is Lloyd Auerbach. And the only reason he has that is Berkeley, for many years, would allow you to create your own major. It's also how Isaac Bonowitz had a degree in thaumaturgy.
What is thaumaturgy?
It's a type of magic.
Ah, see, so much to learn.
So there was no accredited academic, and there still is no accredited academic thing that will give you a degree in parapsychology or ghost hunting or the paranormal. That's not to say that you can't get a degree that complements it. I've got a degree in comparative religious studies with a focus on a concentration in psychology of religion. And that has definitely served me really well. Also, sometimes it makes me very boring to talk to because I will, okay, maybe not boring, but I will.
I don't think you're boring.
If I get really tired, I default to like college professor language, and I'm not sure if that's always a good thing.
I will say the same thing. Yeah, that you can have complementary degrees if you wish. But I think that especially if you're going to college in the US, it's a lot of money. And if you don't have that money, which most people do not, I think sometimes it's very overrated in this country for that reason. So go do what you love to do without it if you can.
Be an autodidact. Things to look like things to like delve into: mythology, folklore, psychology will all
witchcraft.
Witchcraft, comparative religions, all of those will serve you well. Psychology is a really big one. Like, understand how the human brain works, how sensation and perception works, and how we sometimes mistake what we're experiencing, because that will help you really understand how people are reporting their experiences and everything. So from Cal, can you talk about the Psychic Energy Codex that recently came back into print, since the Vampire Codex is currently out of print? Yes. Long ago and far away, I wrote the Psychic Vampire Codex for all of the people like me to figure out, like, how does this work? Well, it's about a lot of energy work. And when it came out, I had a lot of energy worker friends and witchcraft friends be like, hey, I like a lot of the stuff in this book, but I am not a vampire. Is it possible for you to write a book that is all the energy work, but not just like talking to the vampires? So I wrote the Psychic Energy Codex. It's kind of a prequel to the Psychic Vampire Codex. So it gives you a good, solid foundation into the principles of energy work as I have experienced and teach them. It's based off of hours and hours of classes that I ran for years. It's got journaling exercises. It's got all sorts of exercises. It's got a whole chapter where I got into the weeds about chakras and like what do those actually mean with like an actual like comparative chart of all the different systems, because there's 3, there's 5, there's nothing, there's what is this? What are we even talking about? And so the Psychic Energy Codex is not only a practical manual of how to do energy work, manual that teaches you what is this, why do we do it, how do I know if it's real, like how do I build objectivity about my experiences, how do I develop these things, what language do I use, and what has come before that has influenced our view of these things. I think that's a good description of the book.
Yeah, I'm curious. I haven't read that one yet, but
yeah, it was another one that I placed with Wiser, and like that one, Psychic Dream Walking and the Vampire Codex were the ones that like we fought to get the rights back, so I could just have like with these shows more agency.
Cool. Yeah, agency.
Yeah.
So on that, Oscar says, if the network show hi, is that Bliss?
Yeah, it's Bliss.
If the network show interest, how will you make sure that your shows don't look like the other paranormal shows on TV? So I know a thing or two about this. Basically, when you create something that the networks are interested in, you have something called leverage in the very beginning. Now, you have the most leverage before you talk contracts. And so that's the golden ticket right there. Hi, Bliss. So we would essentially just make sure that that contract that we created with those networks was on our terms. And if it wasn't, then we're not willing to sacrifice the integrity of our show for those contracts.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that I really love about the crew that we're with is we're on the same page. Like if somebody tries to pressure us to, like if somebody were to like offer us $3 million to like take the show and like put it on, I don't know, like pick your put it on HBO, whatever they are these days. Warner Brothers wants to buy it for $10 million. If part of that is like, and also you're going to fake stuff, we're going to be like,
no,
goodbye.
Yeah, that's something that we love about this crew is that we're all very anti-capitalist. So we're not motivated by money. We're motivated by telling the truth and investigating from a place of sincerity and vulnerability. So, honestly, and I have said it multiple times, exactly what Michelle said. If we got a gajillion, dollar contract with someone and they told us, well, you have to play by our rules, we would say, fuck off. Yeah. Can you describe some of the most unusual or innovative experiments you conducted to attempt contact with inhuman beings? I have one, but do you want to start?
Nope. I wasn't on the ground for a lot of the stuff that you were doing. I was mostly remote stuff. So like I was just doing my usual thing, which doesn't seem unusual to me, but might be unusual to some people.
Okay, well, there are two things that come to my mind. We did a lot of stuff, so it's hard to remember it all. But on the New Blood show, there was a moment where, or like a section of time, I don't know what we call it, but where we split up and half of the team was randonauting, which is, if you don't know what that is, it's God, how do you explain that? It's an app that basically like mixes.
You allow to lead you to a place and you see whether or not that lines up with what else is going on. And
yes.
That particular experience was just a like reality being like, nah.
Yeah. So that was happening while another crew was doing another thing, and those two things lining up. That was a really weird experiment. There have been like 3 people in the SD session at once, and then like round robin asking of questions. There was also this like I think we might have made our goal because I'm hearing people scream in the background.
We did. Okay, yes, Illyria confirmed.
Yay! That's my mom.
Hi, Mom.
All right. So I'm going to just interrupt myself and say that now
Yay,
Zosh will
thank you.
have
We
to wear a
love
bat
you. We love
costume.
you. Okay, hang on. You keep talking.
Okay. So, well, yes. Thank you, Miki. Thank you, everyone, for making that happen. This is amazing. Now that we're over 30%, we can definitely have the momentum and the algorithm power, whatever the hell it's called, to be able to make our final goal. So we wouldn't have, seriously, we can't do this without you. So we're so grateful for all of your support. You all are amazing. Everybody's screaming in the background. Uh-oh. Is it happening now?
I can do it again, too. I could just put
Oh
on the
my
devil
gosh.
horns.
I can't believe you have it so accessible.
It's just hanging up in my room.
Freaking awesome. Yes. Thank you, Lee. Thank you. The vampire is doing the thing. Still a long way to go. Keep spreading the news. Yes. Thank you, Lonnie. Right. This is still only 30% of the final goal. But I mean, this is a preview of what you'll get on our live stream on Saturday. So
I will set things up so you can see the wings later.
thank you, Erin. Thank you, Liz. All right. Yeah, Sally. So on Saturday, we will be talking about probably a lot of queer things because it's Pride Month. And then we'll also like open the Q&A up again. But
yes,
yeah, we're going to have live streams throughout this. So
books are straight.
What's that?
Newsflash, not straight.
Not straight. Thank you, Sally. Yeah, this is awesome. And it really has been an insane 48 hours.
No, there was a time with Paranormal State where I was like, well, Chip is gay. And like at one point somebody was like, you shouldn't out Chip, like and then that, like they lost their nuts over it. I was like, sweetie, that is not a closet. That is a dressing room. If you think this man has ever been subtle about being a gay man, I don't know what to tell you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Also,
not straight. Hashtag not straight.
Yeah, not straight.
We should put that on a shirt.
I will give it to you straight, but I do not know how.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. I can't think straight because people are straight.
My wife is like, nobody can. Not in this room.
Not straight.
Yeah, we are also very sleep deprived, incredibly stressed. I'm pretty sure I'm vaguely hypoxic from like the complete lack of oxygen with the wildfire smoke here. So yeah, a little bit less coherent than usual. Yes, thank you, dear. That's a word.
Yes, our time is winding down. Yes. Any last thoughts from us?
On the topic of unusual experiments that we did, I encourage everybody to try verbal sigils, which like sigil magic is like a big thing. Like you make a symbol, like there's a whole thing with that. I am a singer and a poet. I do a lot with sound and with vocalization. And we do something that involves a vocal sigil and the vocalizing and resonating of a sigilized language.
Yeah, that was incredible. There were multiple times where we had like divination things happening while also the multiple technological devices in like a sacred circle. I mean, we tried all kinds of things and we have like a scroll list of other things that we want to do. And also let us know what you want to see. Like if you have a wild idea, but you're like, I don't want to do that. I want someone else to try that. We'll do it. We will.
I want to be hooked up to an EEG. I would totally do an MRI, except I can't do the contrast dye. But yeah, there's everything at it.
Yeah, we have a lot of tricks up our sleeves. Everything from like float tanks to psychedelics to all kinds of stuff.
That's actually the thing. Most paranormal teams are going to a location trying to find the paranormal, trying to find the extraordinary. we acknowledge we are part of that also. We are something to explore.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so we're not simply exploring and looking for ghosts. We know there's something out there. We want to know also what is in here that facilitates those experiences, that makes some of this extraordinary stuff happen, because we are also paranormal.
Ooh, I like that. We are also paranormal. I think we should end on that. And also a big fat thank you to everyone. Seriously, this is, I don't even know what regular life is. It's just Kickstarter all the time. So it's really been crazy, and I can't believe we're here.
It's a lot. I'm not gonna lie.
There's a lot. There's a lot. If anybody out there is thinking of doing a Kickstarter, maybe don't.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any way to prepare yourself for it. I'm not sure that there's any way to prepare yourself for it. It is a lot. I think it would be easier to have an infant.
Yes, I mean, I don't know,
I
but
don't know, but from what my friends have said, like, it sort of feels like, oh wait, I need to burp it and feed it again. Let me go on to Twitter.
yes, and I see the correlation you made there. Yes.
Oh,
All right.
that's a
Well,
lot. But that's not to say that we are ungrateful. we're
no.
being, like we want to make this be real. Thank you for the support. You're all wonderful. You are going to get sick to death of those graphics and the newblood.tv and probably our faces. Hopefully it is all going to be worth it in the end.
Yes. Yes. We absolutely. We should probably wear like masks next live stream or something just to shake it up. You're gonna have that. Maybe I should wear something too. Yeah. It's good. Okay, we gotta go. We love you. Bye.